This is tutorial part 1 of our Hippo Snuggie blanket. We're going to be working on the blanket part of our hippo, and then the other tutorials will do the head, the arms, and the little flower on the side. So I chose to make a granny square star blanket, partly because granny squares come up really fast, and I like the star design, particularly when you fold it up your little blanket. There are different designs, and I'll do other tutorials on some of the other designs that you can do, but really any blanket pattern will do. All right, but I've chosen, we're going to do the star granny square pattern today. So let's get started. I'll put that over there. I might just put it out of the way actually. All right, for those just starting out, I highly recommend the 6mm hook. I also recommend this if you're going to be making a bigger blanket, and the way to make a bigger blanket is just add more rounds, but a bigger hook means it'll come up quicker, and blankets you want to be nice and loose and soft. Today I'm going to be using the 4.5mm hook because I like keeping my work nice and tight, and I want it to come up little, but any hook that you feel comfortable will actually work with this pattern. You also need a tapestry needle. Now I love using the metal needles. You can definitely use a plastic, but the metal needles are just sharper and makes it easier for weaving in those ends. A pair of scissors, and I'm choosing to do 3 different colors in my blanket today, but you can definitely do just 1 or you can do 2. It's completely up to you, and I'm using 8-ply wool, so any color that you want, but obviously I've gone for the purple and pink tones because I'm doing a hippo. Now in my blanket I started with the dark purple, but for the purposes of this tutorial I'm going with this lilac color, I guess you call it, just so that makes it easier to see for my the first round of the granny square. Okay, so to get started we're going to make what's called a slip knot. I leave a tail, I wrap it around my finger twice, so I've got 2 loops. I grab the back loop and I pull it over the front loop. Then I grab the tail and I wrap it in front of the loop that is still on my finger. Then I grab the back loop and I pull it over the front loop again. And then you can got a loop that you can put on your hook and loosen and tighten as needed. And the way I like to hold my yarn, I'll show you if you're just starting out. You'll find your own way, but this is how I do it, is I hook my pinky under here. I turn my hand so my pointer can come under here. Then my index finger and my thumb, which are known as the pinches, lightly pinch my work or hold it close to the hook. The closer you hold it to the hook, the easier it is to work and the more control you have, but it's not tight. See, I can slide it up and down. And your pointer is just keeping the tension. This is your working yarn here, so it's just keeping the tension, but again it's not tight. Okay, so to start off with we're going to chain 2. So you yarn over, it's called yarn over in crochet, but you're putting your hook under the yarn, you're hooking it and you're pulling it back through the loop on your hook. So that's 1. Then you're going under the working yarn or yarn over, hooking it and pulling it back through the loop on your hook. So that's 2. Okay, so if you have a look at your chain, you've got 2 V-shaped stitches here. So this is the first stitch close to the hook. You can't work into the first stitch because it's going to undo. We want to go into the second. So here's our hook. This is our first one, and here's our second. So if you just follow the tail through the knot there, pull out the bottom loop of that chain to make it bigger, then you can see where you're going to work into. So we're going to work into this bottom loop of the chain. We're going to put all our stitches in here for round 1. Alright, so to start off with, we are going to do a double crochet. So to do a double crochet, yarn over first, so you have 2 loops in your hook. We turn our hook and go into that chain space that we just made a bit bigger. Then yarn over, pull up a loop. Remember, hold your work close to the hook so you've got control. We've got 3 loops on a hook now, so now we want to go yarn over, and we want to go through the first, pull it back through the first 2 loops only. So now we've got 2 loops on a hook, then yarn over and pull back through the last 2 loops. Now we're going to continue. We want another 2 double crochets into this chain space. So we want to do another one, so we're yarning over, 2 loops on a hook, going into the chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, so you've got 3, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, now you've got 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2, and that's double crochet. So we're doing another one, yarn over, 2 loops on your hook, going into the chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, so you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So now that we've done our 3, we want to chain 2. So yarn over, which is going under the yarn, hooking it and pulling it back through the loop on your hook, that's 1. Then yarn over and do 2. Now we're doing another 3 double crochet. So yarn over first, 2 loops on your hook, going into that chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, and then pull through the last 2 loops. And then we just continue with another 2 double crochets here. This is all going into the same space. This is just our starting round. So now that I've got my 3, I want to chain 2. So yarn over, pulling it back through the loop on your hook, that's 1, and that's 2. Now we're doing another 3 double crochets. Now that I've got my set of 3, I'm chaining 2. And then I'm going to do another 3. Now if you were to do the square, the granny, and make it an actual square and not a star, you would do this. I'll just show you this last 3 clusters, and you'll do your chain 2. So you would stop here for your to make a square, right? You want to have 4 clusters of 3 double crochets, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You would stop here, but because I want to make a star and star has 5 points, I'm going to do a 5th cluster. So I'm doing another 3 double crochets into the ring. And now chaining 2. And you can pull it tight because we did a slip knot at the end. Now, we're now going to do, sorry, it wasn't the end, it was the start. The slip knot at the start, so you can pull the center tight. Right, to finish off this round, we want to do, this time it's called a slip stitch. So we're looking for the first stitch of the round, which is here, and you'll notice that each stitch has 2 loops, a front loop and a back loop. We want to go put our hook under both those loops of the first stitch. So this is our first, second, third, and so on. So we're going to put our hook under here. We're going to yarn over. I'm going to pull up a loop, so you've got 2 loops in your hook, and then we're pulling the front loop through the back loop. And that completes our first. Okay, now you can change colour at every round if you want, or mix it up, but I'm going to keep going with this colour for another 2 rounds. So I'm going to, first of all, we're going to slip stitch along to this chain space here, this first. If you take a look, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chain spaces. And this is where we're going to be working the next round in. So if we want to get to here, so to do that without changing colour, we're going into the top of the second stitch, yarning over, pulling up a loop, then we're going to pull the front loop through the back loop, and we're going to do the same for the third stitch along. Do another slip stitch, and then I'm going to slip stitch into this chain space right here. So I'm going into this, then pulling up the loop and pulling the front loop through the back. Now we are going to chain 2, and this counts as 1 double crochet. So it counts as the first stitch of the first cluster. So Granny Square works in clusters, which is like 3 double crochets. But this chain 2 will be 1 double crochet, will be the same as if we were doing a normal double crochet. So we're going to chain 2, which is yarn over, pulling it back through the loop and a hook. That's 1, 2, and now we're going to do our 2 double crochets in to this chain space. So yarn over, go into the chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, or 3 loops on your hook, sorry, pull through the first 2, pull through the last 2. So we're doing 3 double crochets. Now, because we want to increase, we want to put another, we want to chain 2, so chain 2, we're going to put another 3 double crochets in to this chain space, the same one that we just did though, the last 3. So we did the first cluster, we're going to put a second cluster, and we're going to do 2 clusters into every stitch back to the start. So yarning over, so we're doing, sorry, I hope that makes sense. We're doing 3 double crochets now to make another cluster, and I'm putting it into the exact same chain space of the first cluster. You'll start to see the pattern soon. Alright, so there we go, that's our double clusters in every corner. We're going to be doing a double cluster. Okay, so now we're in between the corner, so I'm going to chain 1, just 1 chain this time. Right, and now we're going to put 3 double crochets into the next chain space along. Okay, chain 2 and do 3 double crochets into the same chain space. So we're doing another double cluster. And then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to the next chain space, and we're doing our double clusters into this chain space, which is 3, 2 chains and 3. So 3 double crochets, 2 chains and 3 double crochets. Then chain 1, and I missed. You'll find that you will miss stitches, and it's actually okay if I accidentally missed. I spotted it, but if I accidentally missed a double crochet from one of the clusters, that's okay. But what you can't do is where you need a double cluster, you need to have a double cluster, or it'll mark up your corners. So it's always pays to check. I'll check at the end of the round. There you go, I've got my 3 double crochets, chain 1. Now I'm doing another double cluster into the next chain space. You'll start to see the pattern the bigger the blanket gets. Chain 2 now, and doing 3 double crochets, and then I'm going to chain 2, correction, chain 1 because we're in between. Now we're doing our last double cluster for this round. So 3, then chain 2, then 3 double crochets, which makes a cluster. Then chain 1. All right, so just go back, like I said, you want to make sure you've got a double cluster, which is a double cluster is 3 double crochets, 2 chain, 3 double crochets. And you want to make sure you've got those double clusters in each of these corners. So it's 5 corners. Otherwise it will muck up your corners if you do not have those double clusters. So yep, I've got that. So now we're going to do our slip stitch. Our slip stitch. Now this, we did our chain 2, which counts as the first double crochet at the start, at the beginning of the round. But I just usually slip stitch into the second double crochet and avoid the chain because you can slip stitch into it, but it's annoying. So that's completely up to you, but I go into the second double crochet here, going under both those loops to do my slip stitch to complete the round. So go under there, pull up a loop, you're pulling the front loop through the back loop. So that completes round 2. So we're getting there. I'm going to use this colour one more time. Sorry, I should have this silent button on my phone. Classic mistake here. All right. Okay, so round 3. I will change. I'm going to do one more round in this colour and then I'm going to change colours. So I want to slip stitch into the next stitch along. And then we're going to slip stitch into this corner. And now I'm chaining 2 for the start of the round, which counts as my very first double crochet. And because this is a corner, I'm going to do we're doing double clusters. So we want to do, that's 1 double crochet. We want to do another 2 double crochets. And now we're doing 2 chain. And then we're doing 3 double crochets. So the double, you'll see in a minute, the double clusters are going to make up the corners of our star granny blanket. And now we're going to chain 1 and we want to go into the next space. It's not a corner, right? So in this next space, we're only going to do a single cluster, which is just 3 double crochets. And now we're doing chain 1 and we're going, because the next one along is a corner, and you can tell it's a corner because it's got the double cluster, we're going to do our double cluster. So 3 double crochets, 2 chain, and then 3 double crochets, then 1 chain, and then we're doing a single cluster into the next chain space. Chain 1. Now we're doing our double cluster. We're just repeating this all the way around. All the corners have double clusters. The then single clusters in between. And the double clusters have 2 chains. The single clusters have 1 chain on either side. Chain 1, single cluster, which is 3 double crochets. Then chain 1, and a double cluster. And then chain 1, and a single cluster, then chain 1 and a double cluster, and this is our last corner for the round. Two chains, single, so 1 chain, and now our 3 double crochets to make a single cluster, and the very last chain, which completes round 3, and then slip stitch into the top of the second double crochet to complete the round, and then slip stitch into the top of the second double crochet to complete the round. Alright, so that's starting to take shape, and now we're going to change colours. So to change colours, I cut the yarn leaving a tail, and then just pull it all the way through, and we'll leave that in later on. I'm going to go with dark purple, leave a tail, looking for that first chain space here, the corner. I'm going to hook the yarn and pull it back through, grab the tail, hook it and pull it all the way through the loop, and then put my hook back through the loop, pull it tight, and now I'm doing my chain 2 for the very first double crochet of the round. So this is round 4, and now we're doing our double clusters, which is 3. So we've just done 1 double, remember the first 2 chains count as 1 double crochet. This is our second, and now I'm doing my third, and then I'm chaining 2, and then I'm doing my last 3 double crochets to make up this double cluster. Then we're chaining 1, doing a single. And you'll find with each round the single clusters will grow. So last round we only had 1 single cluster in between. This round we've got 2. See, this is a single cluster. I'm going to do a single cluster here, and then our corner. So chaining 1, doing another single cluster. And this pattern is just going to repeat until we get, I stopped at round 9 on my Hippo Snuggie. You can keep going if you like, if you want it bigger, but I'm only going to do 9 rounds and then just the border. So keep going with this colour, and I'll get back to you at the start to change colour again. So just remember the corners all have double clusters, which is 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 3 double crochets. Then you want to do a single chain, cluster, single chain, cluster, single chain. Then you're going to do your double, and you're just going to repeat that all the way around. And once you do that, I will get back to you, and we'll change color again. Okay, so just completed round 4. So it's starting, as you can see, starting to take shape. It's a good idea to just go back and check your clusters. Make sure you've got those double clusters and you've got your chain spaces, because it will muck you up later on if you don't. So that's all good. So I'm just gonna slip stitch into the top of that second stitch at this from the start. All right, and I'm going to cut the yarn here because I want to change to pink. Then just yarn over and pull that tail all the way through. Pull it tight. So I'm changing to pink. You don't have to change. You can just slip stitch to that corner space if you want. That's the beauty about granny square. It can be any design you like. So then I'm going to change colour. So to change colour, I'll leave a tail. I just hook the yarn and pull it through that chain space where I want it. I grab the tail, and I hook it and pull it all the way through the loop, and then I put my hook back in to the loop, pull tight. We're doing the chain 2 for our first double crochet. Now I'm doing a double cluster here. So then chain 2, 3 double crochets. And then chain 1, and as you'll notice this time we're going to be doing 3 single clusters in between our corners. So now I'm doing a single cluster, and we're just going to repeat all the way around. Alright, so chain 1, another single cluster. Chain 1, and that's our third single cluster. Then chain 1, and I'm doing up to a double cluster. So just continue with the pattern of doing your double clusters, and then you have chain 1, single clusters, chain 1, single cluster, etc. all the way around, and I will get back to you at the end of round 5, and I will change colour once more. Alright, so keep going, and I'll see you at the end of round 5. Okay, just done round 5, and look at it starting to take nice shape. I'm glad I did it a bit different actually to the other one. It's nice to do it differently sometimes. So I'm just going to check that I've got my double clusters in all the corners, and that all the single clusters are working right. And now I'm going to do my slip stitch into the start here, and I do want to change colour back to the dark purple again, and it's gone rolling. Oh, you should see I got yarn everywhere. Such is the nature of the beast. It's very addictive. Alright, I'm going to cut my pink off here, leaving a tail, and then I'm going to grab the pink tail and slip stitch all the way through, and then I'm going to find the next chain space here. Once again, leave a tail, hook it, pull it through, grab the tail, and pick up the loop again, and then do my chain 2 for the start of the round. So we're just repeating, we just keep on doing our double clusters and our chains and our single clusters. So we're just going to do another round of this. So making sure we're doing our double clusters in all the corners and our single clusters on the side. Chain one, single cluster. All right, so just keep repeating all the way around, and I will get back to you at the end of this round for another color change. And then it's only, well, you can go as long as you like, but I'm only going to do 3 more rounds of the granny square after this. So yeah, so we haven't got much more to go. As you can see, it comes up really fast. It's a good pattern to start off with. All right, so I'll see you back at the end of round 6. Alrighty, round 6. I'm just going to do my usual slip stitch into the top of the second double crochet from the previous round. And then once more, I think I will change colour for the last 3 rounds. Before I do that, I will just check to make sure I've done the double clusters in all my corners. Yep. I'll cut the dark purple off, leaving a tail. And then I'm going to go back to this pretty lilac colour. So I'll just grab my tail from the dark purple and pull it all the way through, pull it tight, finding that chain space, leaving a tail, yarning over, pulling the tail all the way through the loop, and then putting my hook back in and chaining 2 for our first double crochet. So I'm just going to use this colour now for the next 3 rounds. You can change colours if you like, completely up to you, but yeah, I'm going to stick with this colour for the next 3 rounds. So we're just repeating our same pattern with the double clusters in each corner and the single clusters on the sides without chain spaces in between. So I'm going to do that for the next 3 rounds, and then I will see you at the end of round 9 to finish off our snuggie blanket, to do the border or the trim. Alrighty, I will see you at the end of round 9 to finish off our blanket. Alright, just about to finish round 9, and then we can work on our trim. So I've just got the last 2 stitches here. Alright, and now you just want to join it to the top of your first stitch here. So going in, yarn over. Oops, it would help if I finish my stitch properly. Redo. Right, I'm going into the top of this stitch here, yarning over, pulling the loop through. I'm going to do a slip stitch to join, so pulling the front loop through the back loop, and then trim your yarn, leaving a tail, and then yarn over and pull that tail all the way through. So now I'm on to the trim. I'm going to use pink, and I'm just going to do a simple, you can do there's many different ways to do a trim, but just because this is so pretty, I'm just going to do a simple single crochet all the way around. So I'm going to attach the pink. I'm going to start here in this chain space here on one of the corners. So put my hook through, leaving a tail, pulling the yarn through that's chain space, grabbing the tail, hooking it and pulling it all the way through, and then putting my hook back through, pulling tight. I'm going to do a chain space, so chain space. Sorry, getting my words mixed up. I'm going to do a chain, so yarn over, pulling it back through the loop on your hook, pull tight, Now in the corners I'm going to do 2 single crochets. So I'm going into this corner chain space, so into the same space where we did our chain, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, so you have 2 loops in your hook, yarn over, pull through both loops. So I'm going back into the same chain space to do 2 single crochets, so yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull back through. And now at the top of the 3 of each of the 3 double crochets, I'm going to put a single crochet into each of the top. You might just need to move this over to find this first stitch. So going under both loops, yarn over, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through both. So that's 1. So there'll be 3 double crochets that I'm doing a single crochet into the top of, like that. Now I've come to a chain space, so I'm just going to simply do a single crochet into that chain space. Now I've got 3 more double crochets, so I'm just repeating, just doing a single crochet into the top of them, a single crochet into the chain space, and you're just going to repeat that. Sometimes you might have to move this one over to find the top of this. So I just moved it and now I can find the top. I'm just doing single crochet all the way around. So just keep repeating that. So you're doing 3 single crochets into the top of each double crochet from the previous round, single crochet into the chain space, and when you get to the corner just do 2 single crochets and just repeat all the way around, and then I will go back to you. Okay, I'm just about to finish this round, so just last few single crochets to go. Always exciting to get to this bit because I know that this granny square for me is done. Alright, and just Alright, so once you get to the end, just do the last stitch here, Alright, I'm just going to do a slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet here, so going into that top, yarn over, pulling up a loop, then pulling the front loop through the back loop, and then I'm going to cut my yarn. Leaving a tail, and then yarn over and pull it all the way through. So now we've got the fun bit of weaving in all of these ends, and which will then complete this tutorial. So just pull the center tight. There's no right or wrong way to do this. Just get my tapestry needle, and I'm just going to weave it in and out of the back here until I feel like it's tucked away and secure enough. So just in and out, back and forth. So yeah, just weaving the ends in and out of the stitching from behind the granny square, and then I'm just going to trim when I feel like it's secure enough. And just trim it really close, and then just repeat. You can even, on this sort of thing, I might even knot 2 strands together just to make it even more secure. You don't have to, it'll still be pretty secure. You should do 3 really tight knots, and then I just can weave this end in as well. Just make sure I kind of go over that knot with this thread so you can't really feel it. But again, you don't have to knot it on this sort of thing. I'm mindful with, like say, baby booties. I probably wouldn't knot it because you don't want to knot under their foot because I can't tell you. You can feel it, but this sort of thing, it's not a problem. And then I know that it's really secure. So just in and out, and then once I'm happy with it, I'm just gonna cut it really close and do this one with you, and then I'll leave you to finish the rest off, and then I'll get back at the end of the tutorial. And try and stay, so I'm weaving this in now on the dark purple. I'm trying to stay in the same colours, so otherwise it would show through on the lighter pink, so I'm just weaving it in and out with the dark purple. Alright, trim that one off, and okay, and just repeat that for the rest, and I'll see you once I'm finished. I'm just up to the last two threads, which is the trim. Just it's not very much to weave in because it's narrow, but I'm just going to weave it in and out here like this, just in and out. Same sort of principle, in and out, back and forth, but I'm just going along the edge. Here until I feel like it's secure enough. Alright, and then trimming it really close. And repeat for this one. I might go this way this time. And once you're happy with it, just going back this way. I just like to make sure it's really secure. Alright, once you're happy with it, trim it. And that completes our granny square star blanket for our Hippo Snuggie, or any snuggie that you want to make. I'm sorry, that was a really long tutorial, but I thought it was just best to get the granny square all done in one tutorial, and then we'll work on the arms in the next of our hippo, and then the head and the flower. So thank you for watching and for persevering with this tutorial. Please like and subscribe and all that jazz. You know, that really helps me out more than you know. And I will see you in the next tutorial where we'll work on our hippo's arms. So it's getting the fun bit now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.